Before we go to Dhuhr prayer, inshallah, we will cover the presentation of from IOM Somalia Program Manager, Sikhulile Dhalamini, Suleika, also known as Suleika. Yeah, with the topic of Diaspora Engagement Programme in Somalia, achievements, lesson learned, and opportunities. Welcome, Suleika.
This one. Okay. Does that sound? Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Should I say Supahwanaksan? Thank you. Thank you. Mahatsanit. For those that were not here yesterday, my name is Sikhulile Dhalamini. And I'll try and, the sound is a bit disturbing. Okay. I think while they are sorting out the, okay, now I think the sound is better. I have 20 minutes. But I wanted to start off by addressing the point that my brother Patar mentioned yesterday when he said the issue of irregular migration is of great concern, particularly for the youth, and what can be done in Somalia so that people travel through regular pathways. So in other words, the travel is legal. And then he also mentioned awareness raising, and that's a point that from the IOM side, we had started some campaigns called a Safe Migration, because we thought that if we raise awareness about the dangers of exploitation, the detention, the suffering that our children go through, or our brothers and sisters, perhaps that would stop or reduce the irregular migration. And then we did an assessment, and one of the questions that we asked was, do you know about the dangers of traveling through the irregular means? The response was yes, we know. The question was, would you still do it, knowing the dangers? The response was yes. And the next question was, why, if you know the dangers? And the responses were, I have a chance of making it. But where I am, I have no means of livelihood. But this was not in Somalia. It was in one of the countries in Africa, because irregular migration is happening in Africa, not just in Somalia. Other countries also have similar situations where this is a challenge. So the youth there said, I have a chance of making it. I've seen other people making it. So I'm like, if I do it, I may have a chance. But here, I have no chance. So those are some of the challenges, which is why IOM now is looking at how can we facilitate legal pathways, because you cannot stop migration. You can build a wall, migration still goes ahead. You know, people will always migrate. But therefore, what we say when we talk to our government partners is that focusing on facilitating the legal travel may help reduce irregular migration. And we should remember that in the global north, jobs, some of the skills are needed. And the global south does have some of the skills. But the issue is then, how do we facilitate the movement so that our brothers and sisters do not suffer exploitation, the suffering, the detention, and the ransom that the mothers and fathers have to pay. It's a lot of money, so there's a lot of pain that comes with the process. But maybe if we work collectively and look at the means and ways of facilitating the legal pathways. So that was just my response to the important point, brother, that you made yesterday. It's a very valid one. Now I'm coming to my business. I started off yesterday with this slide. Now we're just putting it, I will not go through it. It's just talking about the IOM. We are the UN agency with a specific mandate on migration. Next slide. So this slide is about what's happening at the global level. We all know about the Sustainable Development Goals. But one important point that I just want to highlight is that we look at migration as a cross-cutting issue for all the Sustainable Development Goals. What does that mean? That means that if migration is well governed, we believe that it has the potential of helping Somalia to contribute to those goals. If you look at one, it says no poverty. So in other words, if migration, as I have mentioned, is well governed, we are facilitating legal pathways, then we are reducing instances of poverty in the case of Somalia. If you look at 2, it's about hunger. If you look at 3, it's good health and well-being, and you can go on and on. So we believe that migration is at the core. If we are going to be able to contribute to the SDGs, we need to ensure that the migration governance is important, is at the center of all the policies in a very cross-cutting manner. We also have the Global Compact. If you read the Global Compact and look at Objective 19, you will see that it specifically mentions diaspora, the important role of the diaspora. Yesterday I said they are usually, in Somalia, they are usually the first responders if there's any emergency, natural disaster, they would come on board. Development, I'm going to address that in a few minutes. And then Sustainable Development Goal, yes, I've already covered that. Next slide. Now, this is where we'll talk about the practical application of the role of the diaspora. What are the diaspora doing in Somalia that we have supported? What have they done? And what have they achieved tangibly that we can point at and say, this today exists in Somalia because of the diaspora? We started the program in 2008. And I just want to talk for a minute about how this one in 2008 started. It was started by the diaspora themselves. In Finland, they went to the government, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm saying this to inspire you so that when you go back to your countries, you can also think about, can we talk to our government as well? Because the Finnish diaspora, they did it in 2008. So they went to the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and said, we would like to contribute to Somalia. We have the technical expertise now, and Somalia needs the expertise that we have. And the Ministry for Foreign Affairs said, okay, how do you want to do it? And they said, we would like to go back and support government institutions. The Ministry for Foreign Affairs are the ones that approach IOM and say, you have the expertise of running these diaspora engagement programs. Can you come on board and be a partner to support Somalia? Now, that's a challenge for you. When you go to the US, Canada, can we talk when you are there and see how we can do it? To date, we have facilitated the return of more than 700 diaspora to go back and support Somalia. What we have also learned through this program is that it's important for the diaspora to work with the local professionals, because Somalia National University is also producing professionals that need to be recognized. So when we bring a diaspora, we also ensure that they work together with the local professionals so that the knowledge exchange may happen on a day-to-day basis. This is what we've learned. We started with the diaspora, but we realized that for sustainability, it's important to recognize the local professionals. Sectors that have been supported, and these are just examples, it's not even all of them. It's health, it's education, disaster management, rule of law, working with ministries of justice, for instance, local government, immigration, climate change, public financial management, water and energy, and others. They are at work here. We will see a short video of my brother here, Aliso from Baidoa. He will be telling us just briefly about the work that he did when he worked there. These are some of the experts that we even now, we have doctors that are there on the ground working that we've brought back to Somalia. We don't have an engineer currently. We have some midwives that are in hospitals. We have public health specialists. We have teacher development advisors. We have curriculum development specialists. Some of them are in Somalia National University. Some are in the Ministry of Education. The nationalities, those are just nationalities. It's the graphs, they indicate, we didn't put the numbers, but it just shows that higher representation is from Finland, the Netherlands, the UK, the US, and then others, Canada, even from our region, Kenya, Italy, and so on. So those are the nationalities that we have been able to bring back to Somalia through the program. Now, in terms of the achievements, the first one about the policy has been stated, elaborated on by the ministry, which IOM supported. Our role was to support, but the policy was developed by the government, by stakeholders. They went to the regions and consulted and got input, as my brother mentioned yesterday. Now, if you go to Hargeisa Group Hospital, there is a dialysis department that exists. It was started by a diaspora. It did not exist before. He went back to Hargeisa, started the department, and now it's fully functional. And he then traveled to the other regions. He went to Borama, and he also went to Garowe and shared his experience and technical expertise. So that's a very tangible outcome or achievement that we have. Then Jubaland, the teacher training college, is still in its infancy, but we have a diaspora that was working on its re-establishment. The National Health Institute in Hargeisa, we also had placed American Somali diaspora there who's done fantastic work teaching the students. National Higher Education Commission, they were appointed to establish the commission. I think it's still in the making. Maternal child health departments in various hospitals, medical equipment through the diaspora fundraising. Arabsio Hospital is one, where the diaspora have greatly supported. We're currently working with a diaspora from Finland who are collecting equipment. IOM will do the shipping of the medical equipment into hospitals in Somalia. We are also facilitating a cooperation between Somalia National University and the University of Helsinki so that they could share experiences and learn from one another. Just quickly, what have we learned over time? The second one, the sustainability aspect. You know, when you are doing capacity development, it's important to think about what happens when the person leaves. Because if you are doing capacity, it must be sustainable. In other words, the knowledge should be retained within the institution. If the expert leaves and then people don't even remember what he was there for, then it means the capacity development has not been effective. So that's why we have brought on board the local professionals working on systems, institutionalizing some of the frameworks that have been developed. The importance of the outreach to the diaspora. The Deputy Minister has showcased this point, the importance of outreach to the diaspora. I will not even talk about the effect of that because it's extremely important. And thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. It also increases the trust between government and the diaspora. This is what we've learned globally, that sometimes the diaspora are unsure. If you talk about investment back into the country, are there systems in place? What support do I have? And I listened. My Somali is a bit weak, but I did hear about, the taxation point, the issue of land for industries. Yes, I picked them. I got it. So those are key elements of a strong diaspora engagement. Gender balance, I think it's also been mentioned. It's important that we have participation of both men and women in the program. The internship and local youth, we also provide internship opportunities to work with the diaspora so that they can also have a taste of how do, people do things elsewhere to add to the knowledge that they've already gathered from their universities. Exit strategy is also important. I think I've spoken briefly about it. Government ownership. I think Somalia in the East and Horn of Africa, when you talk about diaspora, they are always saying, she was on a call, on a global webinar, and they said, can you please bring a diaspora from Somalia to speak to us? Because Somalia is showing a very good example, even globally, on how diaspora engagement programs work. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but I think it's already a very, very good path, and in the region is a very good example. Now, the African Union is now looking at diaspora, and we are very excited to have African Development Bank supporting diaspora engagement programs, because out of a recognition that there's even a lot of diaspora within the African region. One country, nationals going to another country in Africa and doing very well. We all know how good Somalis are when you're given the opportunity to get into businesses. It's worked very well. So the African Union, the African Development Bank and IOM are now starting. It's a very small project that will be working very closely with Mr. Gure, my brother, to look at what can we work on together with all of you, the diaspora. So that's why we are here, to just say that we will be engaging with the diaspora. We'll be looking at how to catalyze the private investments as per the presentation that we have listened to, and also how can we contribute to resilient communities in Somalia. So those are the two components of the project that we have, but the objectives are strengthening the private sector, in other words, economic development, and also climate resilience. It's very small print. Summarize. There's a plan to implement the policy. Diaspora mapping has also been mentioned, but I quickly want to go to the last part one, the core funding mechanism with Diaspora Association to enhance community resilience. So what we are going to be working on is a small project in which we will be asking the diaspora to also participate. These projects have been done successfully where the diaspora contributes $1, we multiply it by 3 towards a project that's been identified by the community. So in some communities, they've prioritized access to water, and then they raise funds for installing boreholes, and IOM also contributed. So that's something that we'll be getting back to you, Hani, and saying what can we do in what communities, and then we look at the core funding. So maybe, Yvonne, you can put to show something about the core funding mechanism, which is led by the communities themselves. We are just behind supporting because the communities know what is the priority. Is it water, or is it maybe some other aspects? We can go to the next slide if it's not working, but I've already summarized how it works. Okay. So this is the last slide, which showcases what we are going to be working on with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, specifically the Diaspora Department. Okay, finally it works. Yes, this one. So these are the key elements of the core funding that is community and government led. We are just there to provide the necessary support. There's trust between the communities. So communities in one area, even if they belong to different clans, they work together on a project that they would have identified themselves. And then they are able to account, for the funds, because everything, they open a bank account, but everything is online. So the diaspora that contribute, they can see this is how much I've contributed, this is how much IOM has matched, and also as the money is spent, you can actually trace it because everything is online. So there's an online platform, Sikhulile, that is being used. I think maybe some of you are even familiar with this kind of projects that IOM has been doing. And then, because the communities are driving the project themselves, they then learn how to mobilize resources, how to implement a project, and then in future, they can do other projects on their own. I think that brings us to the end, but we wanted to show you one Alio, yes, in Baidoa, engineer. He did amazing work with us when he was on the project. There is Alio. Yes. There's no sound, but we can see him and we can read what he's saying. Just keep it going. We can read. We can see the words. Thank you.